Okay, so let's output our stuff. To output, we can actually jump out of PHP. So I can go question mark and then close that, and then jump back into PHP to continue writing our script. And we can put in any HTML we want as is. I can go H1, and then I can put appointment details. And then I could continue writing HTML. However, as you can see, it is a little bit harder to read than the alternative, which is to simply echo this HTML. So you may see me use both of these methods interchangeably. So now if I save and let's submit a valid form, I'm going to put some information into each column that is required. So the details are not required, the type is not required, but I do have to pick a repeat option, so I'll pick never, and then I'll save my appointment, and you'll see it says thank you. I don't get any errors, and it then outputs appointment details, which is what I asked it to do here. So let's put a little more information. We'll go with divs for each of our outputs, and I'm going to put title. And then we're going to use the dot operator to concatenate in some information. We'll go underscore post APPT title. All right. So we've already validated that it exists. Otherwise we would have showed an error, so we can just use it. And then I can close it off with another div. And then I'll refresh, and you can see title is go to the doctor. All right. Now, alternatively, I could use interpolation. Now, this can be a little finicky sometimes with arrays. You'll actually see I've got a red line saying unexpected in caps and white space, unexpected yada yada yada. I'm going to try to save and show that, and I end up with the same error. To fix that, if I want to use interpolation with arrays, so array items, I have to put curly braces around the information. What am I missing here? There's something else missing. All right, so title is go to the doctor. That's actually valid. It wasn't missing. It was just taking a while for the code to catch up. So what I do is I can put these curly braces around interpolated array data, but that's just a whole bunch of extra wording to do, or extra syntax to do the same thing we were doing when we're using a post variable. However, the advantage comes a little bit put in here, post APPT title, comes when we copy the array value into a simpler variable. Now I can actually just do this. I can go div title equals title. Now because I don't have the extra square brackets and other stuff on the end, it will take my variable as is. It's called interpolation, and I don't have to concatenate it. I can type it directly into the inside of the quotes in a string. So I'll refresh, still get the same result. Okay. So a couple of different ways we could do that. I'm also going to put in the date and we'll put that one above. So I've got what day is it, what's the title. I realize we don't capture time, but this is just a practice exercise, so that's okay for the time being. So we've got date and title covered. Details, if we have them, they'll be there. So why don't we use a conditional output, one of the advantages to server-side script writing. I'm going to say if post, actually let's get the details into a variable like we have with the others. So details equals post appointment details. So if details is not empty, then we'll output the same thing we did for those others with details. So details is empty, so I have nothing there. But if I back it up and I resubmit with leg hurts, you should see the details comes out. So only if we have the information will it output. Now, we don't have to do an isSet check for text fields because data is a text field, title is a text field, details is a text field. We'll always get something. Now, what about appointment type? Appointment type is a number. Looking back at our index file, appointment type is a number 0 through 8. 0 is select a type, meaning we haven't selected anything, so there's nothing special about it. So we can do an if statement there as well and say if type is equal or is not equal to 0, actually, because 0 is the one that says we don't have one. And I don't have type in a variable yet, so let's put one in there. Post APPT type, I believe. Let's double check that. And then I can echo something similar. Let's just put type there for a moment and see what happens. So I haven't selected a type. Let's go back and select one. Now it's telling me type is 2, which isn't all that helpful to me. What I want to do is output the words for it. So let's put together an array. So I'm going to make a new associative array that shows all of these values. In fact, I'm not going to put an associative array. These are 0, 1, 2, 3. So these are already 0 indexed, which means I can put anything I like in there. And I'm going to just copy let's try that again. I'm going to copy everything inside of these. No, I got to do it from there. Shift end, control back. There we go. Okay. I'm going to copy it into a new array. So I'm going to go array. All right. And I'll press enter because I'm going to make the array just like that. And I'll also put my quotes around each of these. Quote, end quote, comma. So my array is just comma separated list of strings. So there's a comma after each of them. I don't want it on the last one though. I don't want a semicolon. Now I've created the array, but I haven't stored it anywhere. So let's put it in a variable and we're going to call it types. So I have a types array, and this one will be element 0 because it's the first one in the array, and it will continue down the line. All right, so by default, it starts at the number 0 and works its way to the number 8. And if we look at our form, you can see that we have everything up until the number 8, from 0 to 8 here. So we're going to use that to output the correct type, types, and then we'll just put in type. So that's the plural types. You can see my Visual Studio is also highlighting that, and this is the singular type. It's highlighting that. And because it's an array, I might sometimes get a little bit of complaint. I might not. So I will show you that it probably outputs. It's probably okay. So team planning session, yes, that's exactly what I put in there. But just to play it safe when you're working with arrays, just like we did with the post array, I'd say put curly braces around it so that it's very clear that that's what you want to do. Or you can change up the type value to be types and then put in what it used to be. And then instead we can just put in type directly here. Either of those two methods is perfectly valid. All right, so that still remains working. One other thing I'd like to do is I put in these images here, and I want to use these images to to put an icon next to the type of appointment that we put here. So I just want to put in an image of some type. For the time being, I'm going to go image source equals, and then, by the way, I cannot use double quotes here, or if I do, I have to use backslashes to make sure they go in. This is because our string is supposed to end with a quote, and so PHP thinks I'm trying to end that first string there and then start a new one, and I'm missing something to put them together. So to get around that, I can use single quotes in here instead, and that works out just fine. And then I can grab an image in a relative path, and once again, I'm on the server page, so I'm on submit. I need to back up one level to the server folder, go to its sibling folder image, and then go down and get what's inside there. So the syntax for that is to go ... So I started at submit, ... brings me back into the parent directory. Then I do a slash, and I can put in the new path, so img / whatever I want to output. And for now, we'll just put in, let's say, dentist.svg, because we're going to want to play around with the size and such. Save that, refresh. Now you can see it's giant, right? And we want it to be fairly small. SVGs are great because they can size to whatever you like. I'm going to say a width is equal to, and let's try 15 pixels. That's a little better. Maybe a bit bigger. All right. And HTML is nice. It'll automatically adjust the height proportional to whatever width we give it. We don't have to put in the height, but we can if we want to kind of squish it or stretch it or something. Okay, so that works so far. But what we really want is to output an image that corresponds to the type of meeting that we have here. And we also don't want to output that image if we didn't select a type. So we don't have a default image. We only have 8 images here. And there's actually 9 possible options here. So I'm going to put an if within an if. And I'm going to say if type is equal to 0. So if I was saying select a type instead, then I'll echo the original echo, where I did not have an image. Otherwise, so that's where else comes into play. Otherwise, I will output with an image, and that image will be whichever image I select, right? So maybe I don't want to change what type is. I want to keep that 0 in there. I don't want to put, for example, select type in there. That makes life a little bit harder for us. So I'm going to put in type text as my new value, and that's what I'm going to put in here and here. And I only need $1. So now I need type images as an array, rinse and repeat. And I'm going to put in, rather than the whole path, because I know part of the path already, I'm just going to put in the name of the SVG file for each of these. And I'm going to put the ones that correspond. So for the first one, 0, I don't have an image, so I'm just going to leave that blank. And then after that, I'm going to put in the correct one. So personal planning session, I'm going to go with appointment book. And I'll continue the trend, and I'll fast forward through this while I do that. Okay, the array is made. Let's do type icon is equal to type images at type. So you see how having that index can allow us to use 2 arrays in parallel to select the correct icon. And then instead of outputting a specific one, we will output the type icon. And actually we don't need the SVG because that's in each of the file names as well. So technically we could have left those out of here, but we won't. Now it selected a team planning session icon correctly for me. Now we could do a lot with our CSS and HTML to make that look prettier, but that's not the point of this, so we're going to continue on from here. Okay, so we've got date, title, details, type. We also want to capture whether there's any repetition and then any notifications that have been selected. So those are our last two things to go through. So if type is not equal to 0, I'm just going to fold that up here so we can look at it afterwards. If you really need to see that code, I'm just going to scroll through right now. You can hit pause. Okay, now I'm going to fold up that code. Next, I'm going to say if. We will definitely have. We have a requirement on the appointment repetition. So we want to make sure that we definitely have post repeat in there. So I'm going to take post repeat and I'm going to say repeat is equal to post repeat. And I'm going to say echo div repeat repeat. That one's pretty straightforward. For the checkboxes, things get a little different.